Welcome to the True Love Secrets Revealed Telesummit. Today, I am so excited and I feel so honored to have Dr. Valerie Young with us. Dr. Valerie earned her doctoral degree in education from the University of Massachusetts in 1982. Her research sought to understand why so many bright, capable women, including herself, felt like frauds. Dr. Valerie chose as her subjects professional women, a majority of them women of color. And unlike psychologists and academics who offer largely therapeutic solutions to imposter feelings, Dr. Valerie used her training as well as her findings to create educational solutions to imposter syndrome. Taking imposter syndrome feelings out of the realm of therapy and creating educational solutions has proved tremendously effective. Her award-winning book that I am reading right now, The Secret Thoughts of Successful Women, Why Capable People Suffer from Imposter Syndrome and How to Thrive in Spite of It, is translated to not two, not three, 6 languages. Welcome, Dr. Valerie.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I would like to go straight ahead and kind of link how this topic of imposter syndrome could be related to dating and relationships. How these women, our viewers, can kind of get solutions to get over that feeling that they may have when they go on a date or they are in a relationship with a man and they feel like they don't fit really well. They feel like a lot of pressure in order to be fit to be in that relationship.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting connection that you're making, right? Because normally when we talk about imposter syndrome, Natalie, it has to do with achievement arenas, work, school, business, career. And just for your listeners, if they're not familiar with the term imposter phenomena, it was originally termed imposter phenomena by two psychologists, Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes, in 1978. Most people in the popular culture call it imposter syndrome. But what it describes is this belief that we're really not as intelligent, capable, competent, talented, qualified as other people think we are. And we have these feelings despite concrete evidence of our past accomplishments or our abilities. So what we do is we explain away or we minimize our abilities and accomplishments. We say, I was just lucky. It was a fluke. Oh, it's just because they like me. That's why they're saying I did a great job, or I had a good connection. And then we have this fear that we're going to be found out. And there are, to your point, there's certainly, I have heard from people, mostly women, who do feel like experiencing a different form of imposter syndrome in relationships, kind of pretending to be someone they're not, or someone might see them as somebody that deep down they know they're really not all that.
Right, and they're kind of waiting for the moment that he's going to find out that they are not good enough, that they are a fraud. Yes. That's why I'm so passionate about your subject, because it really, really applies to relationships. And I know for you it's kind of new to see it, but it does. We go on dates, or we meet a man, and we do have that feeling of, oh my God, I'm not good enough. When is he going to find out who I really am? And that doesn't allow them to show their light, to show who they really are. So there is anything you could add to this subject of how these women can find a way to create a solution? Because you mentioned before, when we were talking before the interview, that it's not about feelings. It's not about creating a feeling of being good enough or being fit for the relationship. It's about something else. And I loved what you said.
Yeah, I think so often with relationships, there's this core belief that we're really not lovable, right? And if they find out that I'm not as strong as I presented myself as, or if I'm not as feminine, whatever that means, right? As I presented myself as, or, especially if you're doing online dating, social media, we're all presenting this image of our best selves, of course. And yet we all have these other parts of ourselves, as everyone does, which I think is, where you can kind of get into the imposter syndrome. And I think there are a lot of people, and this is what we were chatting about, Natalie, who look at imposter syndrome and they say at the core of it is this belief that you're unworthy. And I disagree for a few reasons. One, we know people in STEM fields are more likely to feel like imposters. People in creative fields are more likely to feel like imposters. So does that mean that there's more people who feel unworthy in those fields? Michelle Obama has famously talked about her own imposter syndrome. And I don't think it's because she feels unworthy. I think it's the pressure of being the first Black first lady in the White House, and that kind of pressure now to represent your entire group. People for whom English is a second language are more susceptible. I've spoken to over 100 universities around the world. The biggest group to always come, Natalie, are the international students, which makes sense, right? They've got the same pressures everyone else has, but they're doing it in another culture and often in another language. So there's many reasons we might feel this way that I don't think fundamentally come down to unworthiness. But I think what's more important about this conversation is that what a lot of us want to do is we want to stop feeling like an imposter. People who read my book, or they're at one of my my talks, what they want is to walk in the door feeling like an imposter and walk out of the door not feeling like an imposter. And that's not how it works. Feelings are the last to change. Feelings are the last to change. And in relationships, a lot of us are waiting until we feel lovable. Like everyone says, you have to love yourself first. That could take a long time, right? If we're all waiting to love ourselves all the time, good luck with that, because we're going to have times where we don't feel very lovable, and we're not too happy with ourselves. So I would say, instead of focusing on, of course we want to feel lovable. I'm not minimizing that, but I would suggest instead, let's focus on our thoughts. People who feel confident and lovable and authentic, they're no more lovable than we are. It's just that in that same situation, in that same dating situation where we're feeling like an imposter or unlovable, they're thinking different thoughts, right? They're thinking thoughts like, well, I may not do this date perfectly, but this is me. And I'm not always going to get it right. And I'm always not always going to have my makeup on. And if that turns this person off, I want to be with a person who can't see me without makeup? They're thinking different thoughts. And so the message is, focus on changing your thoughts first. Think like somebody who did feel worthy, who did feel lovable, and then act like that person would. Even though you don't believe the new thoughts, how would that person act differently than you might be acting in a dating situation? And over time, you'll start believing the new thoughts, and then you'll start feeling more lovable. So you're just kind of reversing the order of things, right? Change your thoughts first, then your behaviors, and the feelings will catch up.
Right. Wow, that is amazing. That is so genius. I am just taking notes because I love what you say. Feelings are the last ones to change, and focus on your thoughts. And when you focus on your thoughts and you focus on the woman you want to be, that's going to give you a different set of actions, and that's going to create an upward spiral.
Yes.
Wow. Yes. So why do you think that we focus so much on the feelings? Why we value so much feeling good all the time? And that's kind of like a core thing with us.
It is. I think for better or worse, women have more access to their emotions.
Yes.
And I think in many ways that is also our strength, because we're able to show empathy and caring, and there's so much good about having, again, easy access to our emotions, because not everyone does. So it gets acted out in very dysfunctional ways, rage or alcoholism or whatever that might be. So that's the good news. But to your point, sometimes we feel too much, right? And we're kind of overtaken by these feelings and consumed by them.
Right.
And I think that's when it's important to talk to other people. The research shows that how women work out stress is by talking. Men and boys tend to, when they're stressed out, they try to distract themselves. They'll play a video game, right? Or they'll go play basketball to distract themselves, to not have to think about it. But, we can get, kind of immersed in those feelings. So the good news is we do tend to talk about it, but we can get stuck endlessly talking about our supposed unlovability, or endlessly talking about how we aren't in a relationship. Sometimes I joke with people and I say, sometimes my friends and I talk about how fat we feel. We never feel any thinner at the end of that conversation, right? So we can get really stuck in this just commiserating with our friends. It's actually called co-ruminating. Researchers found that adolescents who dwell on negative thoughts and feelings with their friends actually experience higher level of depression and anxiety. So talking is a great first step, whether it's to a therapist, whether it's to friends, but then you have to take action. You have to actually do something different to kind of break the pattern and change things.
Right. So what is coming up for me is like, talking is good. Talking is good, and we need to have friends girlfriends in order to talk about things, because our men may not be capable to give us that, because they process their inner life in a different way. They kind of distract themselves. So it's good to have girlfriends to talk about it. And at the same time, it's kind of important to be aware and learn the skills to talk in a way that we are talking in order to get a solution. Like, oh, I feel really fat today. I feel so ugly. And I know I'm going to get my diet under control and it's gonna go away. It's kind of like what you were saying.
Yeah. And, and you're right. 'Cause men do I don't want to say all men, right? We can't completely generalize, but very often if you're, you're having a bad day and you're talking to a man, he'll just say, well, don't worry about it. And don't think about it. It's like, that's not how our brains work. And sometimes we just want to talk about it. We don't want a solution. We don't want them to go, oh, you feel fat, go on a diet. Well, I know that, buddy, but I'm just trying to tell you, I feel fat today. We just have to get it out.
Right.
And at some point we have to stop talking and say, okay, what am I going to do differently so I don't feel this way anymore? Right. How would I approach, let's take online dating. I've got this date coming up. Kind of imagine playing, if you could call in the script writers, right, and redo this scene, and you showed up as the person that you want to be. Right. And don't look at it like, oh, you're faking it. You're kind of getting ahead of yourself. You're acting the way a lovable person who feels entitled to have a wonderful relationship would act.
Right. That I can imagine how different the experience is going to be, the way the men are going to see us. It's the way we present ourselves.
Yeah. Let me give you a little exercise that I think maybe some of your listeners would find useful. I use this in my Impostor Syndrome trainings. The training's called Rethinking Impostor Syndrome, but it can be used for any dysfunctional pattern, any pattern that's not working in our lives. So you basically start out by thinking about, whenever I'm in a situation where, right? And then you fill in the blank. It's my first date, or the person seems to be recognizing I'm not who I presented myself as, or whatever that might be, right? Or so whenever I'm in a situation where I usually experience feelings of what? Is it joy and exhilaration, or is it self-consciousness, insecurity, vulnerability? And the negative voices in my head start saying, well, they're not going to like me anyway. It's not going to work out. Oh, he's probably a jerk. So you might dismiss the person. And what I typically do is what, right? So it's situation, feelings, thoughts, and behaviors. And then to ask yourself, how does this pattern serve me? Because what some people do as a pattern is they want to let the person know right away, okay, I'm flawed. Let me tell you all the screwed up things about me. Like, and so you're basically sabotaging your relationship on the first date. But that you're trying to protect yourself. You're trying to avoid, I'm going to dump them first before they dump me, or I'm going to tell them all the horrible things about me before they find out. And that pattern, yeah, it works. it does the job it's supposed to do, I guess, right? It helps you avoid the humiliation of them, quote unquote, finding out, but always at a cost. We pay a price for that protection. So ask yourself, what will happen if I never change this pattern? You know, what price will I pay? What opportunities and experiences will I miss out on? Because now you've taken an unconscious pattern and brought a conscious awareness to it. So now you can make a choice. I'm going to keep my lousy pattern, or I'm going to let it go. And if you decide to let it go, redo the pattern. Imagine calling in those script writers, redoing that scene. What would you rather feel in that moment? Like worthy, entitled, confident, you know, happy. What would you like the positive voices to say? I'm just going to get to know this person, good, bad, or indifferent. I'll meet someone interesting. We'll have a lovely conversation no matter what happens today. And what would you rather do differently?
Wow, thank you so much. That is a beautiful, very deep exercise that can really get us stuck off, you know, that situation where we are getting, that's something that sometimes we don't see, that every single thought, behavior, feeling we have, everything is having a reward, although sometimes it's not a good reward, but it's a reward, but it also has a cost. It's costing us a lot. It's costing us our relationships. It's costing us our careers. It's costing us to make a difference in the world. It's costing us so much, and we don't see that. And so that's beautiful. What an amazing work you're doing, Dr. Valerie. It's so important. It's life-changing. And once one life is changed, the ripple effects are amazing. And I love that you work with women, because without, you know, saying, oh, we are the best, I really think we are the creators of life. And we are the ones that, you know, bring our children to a good place. And,
absolutely,
you know, if we are in a good space inside of us, the chances of us ignoring our kids or mistreating them or telling or giving them stuff so they don't bother us, not bother us in a bad way, but because we are busy.
Right.
You know, they diminish. And that's why I really love what you do. And that's why I love what I do, because I come from an abusive family, and my mom was very abusive. And I really think that if she didn't have to have all the pressure of carrying the household with her, that she would have had time to relax, to sit and, you know, think before she acted, because she's not a woman. She's amazingly smart and giving and generous. She's unbelievable. But, you know, when we are trapped in that deep survival mode.
I was going to say survival mode. Yeah.
Yeah.
People react differently to survival, you know, to that stress.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. And I know you have a fantastic gift for the viewers to keep getting to work with you, to keep getting to know more about imposter syndrome and how to get out of it and live their lives at their best. Do you mind sharing the gift?
Sure, absolutely. Well, my book is called The Secret Thoughts of Successful Women, why capable people experience imposter syndrome and how to thrive in spite of it. And there's a chapter in the book that is the part of my work, Natalie, that is the most referenced and used and frankly plagiarized, but it's a chapter called The Competence Rulebook for Mere Mortals. And it looks at these different ways, these standards we hold ourselves to. There's the perfectionist, the expert, the natural genius, the soloist, and the superhuman, which for many women, it becomes a superwoman. So people can download that free chapter, and I can get your listeners the URL so they can go and grab that for themselves or for others.
Right. Yes, the URL is underneath this video. So you just have to click there and it will direct you to Dr. Young's resource. Thank you so much. Words cannot say how inspired, moved, just I am right now. You are truly an extraordinary woman. And thank you.
Nice. Thank you. Can I share one more thing?
Absolutely. Yes.
I have a very good friend who had been trying online dating on and off for many years, and she's probably around 62. she decided to do things differently, to change her pattern. Because she would go on a date and then there would be something like she didn't feel this instant chemistry.
Right.
Or there'd be one thing that was a red flag that were very small, often very, sometimes there are some red flags and like, yeah, no, not my person, right? But they would be very, very small things sometimes. I didn't like their hair or their, ears or whatever, some crazy thing. And she decided, I'm going to do it differently. So she went on a date with Steve and she said, he's a good person, nice human being. I don't feel the chemistry, but I'm going to go on another date. Went on another date. Still no chemistry, nice guy, gotta go on another date. They're now engaged, right? 5 or 6 days later, they both opened up more. They both started joking more and laughing and then saw this beauty in each other. And they are now engaged, her first engagement in her life. But it's all because she said, I'm just going to show up one more time. A good person, that was the most important thing. Good person, let's try it one more time, one more time, one more time.
Oh, that is beautiful. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for saying that, because that is something that I see on my clients, that they go on the first date and it's like, no, 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 no. And I tell them sometimes with the, I don't coach everybody the same because they're all different, but with the ladies that I feel that is a good fit, I tell them, you cannot say no to a date unless he's repulsive and he really is not somebody that that
He's a Nazi or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, if he asks you for a second date, you say yes. If he asks you for a third date, you say yes. You only stop when he stops asking you out, if he ever does. Because that's true. The statistics show that actually men are at their best on their third date. Because at the beginning, they are a lot like in a job interview. So they are not really there. So yes, I so love what you said. And oh my God, this is...
And the worst case is you've made a friend.
Right. Right. I went on 200 first dates in 2 years, Dr. Valerie.
Wow.
And I am still not friends that we talk all the time, but we are on Facebook together with some of them. And, and I see they got married and they had kids and I say happy birthday to their kids, or when they get a dog, we had things in common. That's why we went on a date. So most of them love dogs or going outdoor on I love nature. So it's beautiful, and they like my pictures, and I don't know, it fills my heart to see them happy with good women, with that they're good guys. It just wasn't a good match for me for any reason.
That's right. Sometimes it's not.
But yes, so oh my God, that is a diamond what you said. Thank you so much.
Good.
And yes, I'll let you go now.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye.